Welcome to the Conscious Radio Network's YouTube channel. Become enlightened, have fun, and tell all your friends and family to share with everyone they know. You can find us on Facebook and stay up to date on our Facebook group, or find us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Our podcasts can be found on Libsyn, iHeart, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. Most of all, remember to go to our official website at consciousradionetwork.com for podcasts, hosts, future shows, and scheduling. We also want to welcome our international audience. Don't stop now. Enjoy the community. Subscribe today.
This is the Conscious Radio Network.
Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you might be on the spaceship we call Earth. Welcome to Conscious Radio Network's weekly podcast series, The Seance. I'm your host, Reverend Dr. Paul Mekas. If this is your first time tuning in, please click subscribe, like, share, comment, and also follow wherever you listen to your podcasts. Today, we have with us a retired demonologist who has worked with the Sacred Order of St. Michael, the Archangel, as part of an investigation and assessment team of demonologists, a veteran in the battle of good versus evil for over 41 years, decided in 1982 to develop a systematic process for assessing and profiling people who claim demonic issues. The online demonic profiling studies and demon assessments take the next step forward in demonic investigation studies with a mentorship. Let's welcome to the show Archbishop Ronald Feyl Enright. Good afternoon, my friend. How are you?
I'm just fine, thank you.
Very, very welcome. How did you go in this? How did this all start for you? What led you to get into clergyman?
Well, it all started with a supernatural event. It occurred like many, many years ago. I was about 11 years old, and I was taking a shower in my bathroom. And there was this bright light that just blasted right through the bathroom window, and it illuminated the entire room, so much so I had to close my eyes.
Wow.
To prevent the flash. And then as I closed my eyes, I saw myself many years in the future with a Roman collar and serving in some capacity in the church. And at that time, it was about 30 seconds. I saw this entire, which I view it as a divine calling. I came out of it. I opened my eyes slowly, and I actually saw what looked like or appeared like smoke slowly exiting the bathroom window.
Huh.
And at that point, everything started happening in my life. Things started happening in the supernatural events, and one thing after another and after another. In 1975, I received holy orders, and that is the ordination into the priesthood.
Mm.
And at that point, I decided to see my jurisdictional bishop and express my interest in the ministry of exorcism. And he was very surprised, to say the least, because very few priests ever request that type of assignment. But he assigned me to a mentor, and his mentor was a much older gentleman. He was a bishop and an exorcist, and he's done it for like over 20 years. And so he was a very seasonal veteran in this ministry. I was assigned, and I was his assistant for 4 years. In those 4 years, it was my on-the-job training, if you will. I've actually had 3 mentors in that time, but the one was the exorcist, and I was his mentor, or I was his assistant. Anyway, 4 years went by. In 1979, I was brought up and elevated as bishop-elect within the church.
Yeah.
And then a year later, in 1980, I was appointed the jurisdictional exorcist for that diocese. And then immediately after that, well, 2 years anyway, I was consecrated as a Catholic bishop. within our jurisdiction. And it was at that time, and keep in mind, I've already probably performed well over 800, at least I assisted in about 800 exorcisms, and that was like 1982. I was just now getting my feet wet, pretty much. Our ministry opened up. We started receiving all kinds of calls, especially when the people in the communities. There were 4 communities we used to service: Glendale, Eagle Rock, Highland Park. All these are in Los Angeles, and we used to service all these communities. And as a result, we kept receiving requests for a priest to come down because there was some kind of strange behavior going on within the family unit. So we would normally, make an inquiry and make an appointment to go down and talk to them. And then we found out that it wasn't just a simple house blessing they were requesting. They were requesting something a little more involving. And of course, we're talking about demonic issues that people tend to attract in certain situations, which we'll get into that a little later on.
Yeah.
So I was part of the crew, and I was the exorcist for that at that time for the jurisdiction, and I recruited several priests and laity to make up at least a few teams so we can go out and actually do an assessment. And it was after that, about a year or so after that, I created what's referred to now as the process. And this is the entire method that we go through in order to make an assessment on someone who claims symptoms or feelings of demonic oppression or possession. And so we actually take an analytical approach to this. Our organization now is worldwide. We have priests and bishops in 24 countries around the world.
Wow.
And that means we have 24 different jurisdictions. They're out there and they're communicating with us. We have teams. Our teams basically consist of laity. The majority of our people have at least one medical person, maybe a nurse practitioner or even a doctor. And if that be the case, when they do their assessment, they follow what we refer to as a process. And the process consists of a questionnaire that I designed like 1,000 years ago, it seems. And right now, this process is being used in 24 countries. And I'm, let me make kind of clarify this a little bit. I'm not retired. No one really retires from this from this ministry. Okay, I mean, we like to think that we're retired, but the guy upstairs has other plans always.
Yeah.
I'm 70 years old, and as a result, I'm not as fast and as quick as I used to be.
Yeah, it's a matter of just handing the torch over to somebody and still being there doing the work.
Yeah, right now I put myself in a semi-retired thing because I'm still communicating with my clergy. I'm also running an online seminary course for clergy and lead exorcists who may want to learn more about profiling demonic behavior and all the characteristics that go with it. So we go into a very deep detail about that. I'm still taking in, I have probably close to 12 different jurisdictions that are just most recently that have joined us in our ministry of exorcism. And this is a very real scenario. This is not a job. It's an actual calling. And as I said, my calling began when I was 11 years old, when I saw myself actually performing as a clergy in some capacity. Since that time, we've had 3 psychiatrists that are also in our organization. One passed away during the 2020, during the COVID, thing, and that was really sad. He was an MD, and he came down. In fact, I talked to him, and I'm not kidding, about maybe 2 weeks before he passed, and he was telling me he had a head cold, and he didn't think anything of it. And of course, 2 weeks later, his sister calls me and says he passed on. He passed away.
Wow.
And I was shocked. And he was a very active member in our organization. we have and we use and work very close with the psychiatry community, if you will, as well as the medical community. Because everything we do, okay, it's under the spotlight, and we have to make sure that what we're dealing with is a real scenario. If a person is just calling us and it's some form of psychosis, or maybe they just want some attention, and if this be the case, and they request an exorcism, it really doesn't go that quickly. There's an actual time process involved. The assessment itself, and of course the reports that we receive, the psychological reports that we receive from their doctors. Okay, we have to collect all that information, and then we have to make a decision. And sometimes that takes between 3 to 6 months. So it's 3 to 6 months out, even before you get an approval in regards to the case.
Yeah.
And the reason it takes so long is because if a person is delusional, it would throw them further back into their psychosis, and if that be the case, it can lead to suicide, and that has happened. So this is a very serious ministry. It's a healing ministry, but it's also a ministry that we have to take serious, and we have to make sure that we're dealing with a genuine article. If they say they're possessed, I'm very suspicious, because the behavior of a demonic, the demonic is always trying to hide. And it would try to hide deep inside the individual who's possessed. If the person is possessed by a demon, and a demon yells out, "Hey, clergy, I'm over here. I dare you to try to exorcise me." It doesn't work that way. In fact, to the contrary, it will try to hide deep, deep inside the person. And then physical manifestations will start taking place. You will not only smell death around the person, but you will see physical changes in not only their appearance, but also their immediate surroundings. And when you see these things, it's not a health or a psychological condition when you see things that are really cannot be explained. Okay, and when I talk about the physical things that you see, the physical manifestations, they could go from anywhere. From the behavior of the person could be like displaying multiple languages that they've never been taught.
Yeah.
Super incredible strength. The place that they are laying can absorb into their very presence, where you cannot literally move that person. That person is stuck there. The minor things, of course, are they can't blink their eyes, their eyelids. Their eyelids are opened, and for some reason, as you know, it's a physical, bodily thing that we do when we lubricate our eyes every 30 seconds. A person who's possessed, our eyes are wide open, no blinking, which is kind of interesting. I've been doing this for 46 years. It's a long time. 32 years in full-time ministry, and the rest, the last 5 years, I've been semi-retired. But I say semi because I still have clergy worldwide who tap into my insights in regards to any input they feel they need to have. I mentor at least a half a dozen bishops across the country and in their ministry of exorcism. And in regards to making a final analysis, I leave that up to the jurisdictional bishop. For example, if there's we have a jurisdictional bishop, we have many of them all over the world, but let's use the one in Poland. Okay, the one in Poland, let's say that that they're experiencing someone in one of their parishioners has demonstrated some symptoms, and their family members have requested the clergy to get involved in their particular situation. And if that be the case, the jurisdictional bishop would take upon himself and use the materials that I designed many moons ago in regards to the intake, that is the assessment. Now, the first contact interview is extremely important, and there's always someone who is recording it. And as the lead investigator is questioning the individual, there's normally 3 sections that we kind of focus in on. And number 1, of course, would be their psychological profile, what we see, what we perceive, and how they basically react physically. So the second thing would be their health scenario. Now, there's a lot of health issues and psychological issues that could also mimic demonic behavior.
Mm.
And so it's a very fine line there. So we have to make sure that we go in using a very analytical approach, which is the process, and it helps us to gather the information from the individual who is displaying these symptoms. Also, keep in mind, too, that the third, I said there were 3 sections. The third section is the physical manifestations that are taking place around the victim. Now, this could also be what we refer to, or we could identify as, a demonic infestation. And this is where the space has been open to multiple spiritual entities, demonic entities, if you will. And as a result, the house will behave in a certain way where certain things will occur and be totally supernatural in the sense that it's something you would never, ever see in a normal, healthy home. For example, the walls. Okay, we've witnessed many of times walls actually seeping what appears to be blood, very dark blood from the walls. And what we've done is, and since we take an analytical, scientific approach to everything, our investigators have taken samples of the substance that have come down, and we've had it lab. We sent it to a lab to have it tested to see what the substance was.
Yeah.
And the substance came out, and not a real surprise, but it is quite a shocking. The substance was not anything you would ever imagine. What it was plasma, human plasma. So human plasma is coming down from the walls. Okay, totally and completely unexpected. Okay, this happens every so often.
Yeah.
I say out of the thousands upon thousands and thousands of assessments that we have done, there's many reports of these types of things. And of course, and I should probably mention it, that demonic possession is extremely rare. Out of let's say out of 1,000 requests, and we investigate about maybe 800 of that 1,000. Out of the 800, we might actually see maybe 1 or 2 genuine cases of some form of demonic involvement.
Yeah.
And as a result, it shows you the world that we live in is full of darkness. No matter where you're at, you're in the dark. You might have every light on in the room, but you're still standing in the dark. I've also described this as the world having all these sharp edges. And if you could imagine yourself in a dark room and your shoes are off and you're walking barefooted on broken glass, but you don't know that it's there because you're walking in the dark.
Yeah.
And the world is pretty much like that. There's a lot of sharp edges in the world. And the darkness can cloudy up your judgment and talk. In fact, you could actually be misled very easily by demonic oppression. This is where a demonic entity will actually allow you to think that the dark behavior that you're demonstrating is something that comes naturally in your own personality or behavior. The point is that the negative seed that is planted in the mind of the victim will actually take root, and as a result, their mannerisms and other personal traits will be altered. It's all based on what the demonic is trying to do, which is trying to literally destroy the individual, first mentally and then physically. And it comes out. And then this is where you have a lot of people that fall into this category. After having demonic oppression will lead to physical symptoms like cutting themselves. They're known as cutters. Okay. And so they'll try to mutilate their bodies with sharp objects. Okay. And they're not really paying attention as to what's going on because they think it's all part of their natural behavior. And as a result, they can be misled very easily. The world is full of distractions. Evil is always trying to distract you, to mislead you, and to alter your focus in regards to living your life a good, healthy way. And as a result, we deal with these people every day. And so the world is full of darkness. There's light out there, but it's very easy to fall into darkness.
Yeah, I've been saying this for quite some time, and it's becoming a cliche, but it's so true. And like you mentioned, is I feel that there's a spiritual warfare that is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. I mean, we see it. It just the energy just seems much different today than just a couple years ago. And and on the flip side of that too is, I mean, for the longest time we've been throwing the word demon out. You know, it's got to be demonic or it's a demon, demon this, demon that. In your explanation, what is a demon?
Well, as per scripture, we're told that the demons are actually fallen angels. They all started with their leader, who was also an archangel, and his name was Lucifer. And God loved him so much. It was, in fact, this angel was God's favorite. And as a result, this Lucifer person displayed every trait of all the wonderful things that you would expect a supernatural superhero to be. But one day, this Lucifer decided that he wanted the attention that God was receiving. He wanted to be as God. And there was a battle. The battle was the literally good versus evil in the heavens.
Mm.
As a result, God threw Satan out along with 1/3 of the angels. Now, the 1/3 of the angels, we refer to them as the fallen angels. Those fallen angels are now identified as demons.
Mm.
So, what is a demon? A demon is a fallen angel. And their whole purpose in terms of being created and being and roaming the world is to destroy God's creation. We are God's creation. This is a form of rebellion. And as a result, this is something Lucifer did in the very beginning. And of course, Lucifer is now Satan, and Satan is the devil. And of course, Satan is a liar, and he will try to convince everyone that views the world as it is. And as a result, they're being misled with lies. You mentioned that more and more people are being exposed to darkness. I contribute that to our modern technology. Our modern technology, such as the computer, online, we're right now in our society, we are more educated in regards to things that are happening around the world. And so as a result, the more things that we learn and experience, the more open we are to dark forces.
Yeah.
Reason being, if you remember in Genesis, the apple and Adam and Eve, and the apple, God said not to touch the apple, the fruit, because, even though it's wisdom, you are forbidden to touch it. And of course, you know the story.
Yeah.
Okay. The forbidden fruit is now in the form of our computers, in our awareness of modern times, of all these other things. And as a result, we have to understand that everything is not what it appears to be. Okay, life is a matter of light and dark, and sometimes, even if you're a skeptic, even if you're so skeptical you don't believe in demons or evil or anything else, okay, one day you're going to be touched, and you're going to be touched by darkness. And I don't care who you are, you're going to be touched by darkness. Unless you have, and you're accepted with God, and God is in your life, and you have the Holy Spirit within you, then it's a little difficult for that to happen.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, very few people fall in that category. So we're all open as targets. And as long as we're open as targets, okay, we're going to experience something that's horrible, something that's terrible. Anyone who has experienced demonic issues in the past, they can attest to the fact that it's the most horrifying, terrible time in their life, because they're experiencing everything. They're experiencing the physical pain that goes along with life. They're really focusing on all those negative things, and so much so that it's eating them alive, and literally they're becoming part of the dark product that's all around us. Yeah. So as a result, it's an interesting fact too. Right now, we're doing this interview, and this interview is going out to, I hope, millions of people, because, this information should go out to as many people as possible.
Right.
Unfortunately, this information is going out to all the dark areas of the world,
Mm-hmm.
all the areas where there is darkness, where people are either performing or doing something dark, or they are possessed with something outside of their element, something that's dark. As a result, you have serial killers, you have people that do all these heinous crimes. And believe me, each of these people, if you were to do a profile on each of these people, you'll see that there's an actual similarity in their appearance, in the way they interact with people. And as a result, you could almost tag their behavior as being extremely dark, if not demonic. So these issues are all around us. And that's why our organization has been around for a very long time. The Order of Exorcists, which is www.orderofexorcists.com, is our website. We have I created, about a year ago, I created the first ever international referral directory, where a person can come on our website, and they could look up somebody who may live in their city. They could look up a physician. They could look up an exorcist, a minister. They could look up investigation teams. And all of this is right on our main page. And if you just scroll down, you'll see not only the members, their picture, but you'll see their contact information, phone number, their email address. If they have a website, that's listed as well. And then a picture of them. You can see a picture of themselves. And as a result, you will see that, the majority of them are clergy, of course, but we have some physicians, and some of our clergy are also medically trained or psychologically trained. So as a result, we have the first directory, and I'm not boasting, I'm just stating a fact.
Yeah.
I don't believe there's ever been such a thing. Reason being is, when I decided to retire, I thought I was retiring like 5 years ago or so. I still had people contacting me, around the world with demonic issues. Now here I am. And I'll tell you, and I'll be upfront with you. In the very beginning, I started out with maybe 1, maybe 2 rituals a day, and went up to about 5 or 6 a day. 5 or 6 actual rituals. Now, at the time, I didn't have in place the process where we could actually make a full assessment medically and physically and so on. We didn't have that in place back in the 80s and even early 90s. We didn't have that in place, and as a result, we were doing it as most ministries would do on as you see them and you take them for what they're telling you they're experiencing, and you're listening to them. And then, of course, then someone in your church and your hierarchy will make the decision as to whether or not a ritual should be performed. Well, I was doing so many personally, and I was doing assessments on top of that. The assessments I was doing, and I don't expect anyone to really follow these numbers, but we were doing between 3 to 4 exorcisms a day, and about 10 demonic assessments. Of course, we're using our groups, our investigators. We train them in the process, and they ask the right questions, and it's recorded, and then it comes back to my office, and then I review it. But when I retired, 5 or 6 years ago, I left all of that. And I left all my bishops that I've trained over the years, and I've trained probably hundreds of bishops and investigators over the years. And I left them as they have autonomous jurisdictions within whatever city they're in, or state or country. And so, which means that I'm, relying on them to continue the ministry of exorcism with me not being in place. Unfortunately, the calls kept coming in for them, and so here I am. I'm like basically forced out of retirement, because there are so many people that are in need, and they want my attention. And my work days used to be 7 days a week, maybe 150 to 200 hours a week. That was probably what my work schedule is. Now I'm semi-retired, so I'm not working as hard. I'm only working about 100 hours a week, but still 100
Wow.
hours a week, and I'm 70 years old, and I'm not as young as I used to be. I have to rely on these youngsters, these priests and bishops that were my students who are part of my organization, and as a result, and I still contact them, email, and I have cases coming in, and I'm submitting them, and whoever wants them, if they're within their jurisdiction, they claim the case, and then they work it. So between that, and I have about 9 different forums I created on Facebook. So I'm actively working on trying to keep up with each of those things. And then, of course, I still have my emails that come in. And then I do interviews like we're doing now, trying to get the word out, trying to relay that the thing that we're dealing with is reality. The reality is that Satan does exist, that there are demons, that evil does exist. And as a result, we have to pay attention. We have to keep our eyes open. We have to be making sure that we know everything that's going on around us, or at least make an honest effort and try to get close to God. So God will allow you to have that peripheral vision of yours open up so you can see some of the obstacles in the world. We believe in Jesus Christ. We believe in John 14:6, where Jesus said, "For I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me." We believe that if we have the name of, and we use the power and the authority that God has given us, we become very successful in our healing ministry. And that's what we have. We have a healing ministry. And that's basically what we're all about. We're all about paying attention to things that most people are totally oblivious to. And that is all the chaos in the world that may be invisible if you're not paying attention. And you might trip over this invisible substance that we call darkness. And when that happens, when you fall, believe me, the laws of gravity will take place and you will hit the ground hard, because your reality at that point will be shattered, and then your perception of life itself will also be expanded, especially when you know that all of these things, these supernatural things, are real. Okay, this is reality, not a movie. It's not a documentary. It's real life. People get hurt. I almost lost my life back in 2013. I did an exorcism, and it landed me in the hospital for 30 days.
Wow.
And I was in the critical state for the first couple of weeks. What happened was I was doing a ceremony. It was an actual ritual, and I felt what it seemed to be an invisible 2x4 just simply came out of nowhere and slammed into my rib cage. I felt 3 whacks. Of course, 3 is always a symbolic number, where people have tie various meanings to it. But anyway, 3 whacks I received on my side. It literally took my breath away. I keeled over, but I was able to finish the ritual because I had some help, of course, with the Holy Spirit and, of course, my assistants. And I had a room full of my investigators. They also are present when we do rituals. I was raced to the hospital. They found a 2-liter sack of blood that was wrapped around my heart. And as a result, they had to drain the blood, remove it. And while I was there, I had 3 procedures that took place. I was, I can even tell you the name of the hospital. It was San Antonio Regional Hospital in Upland, California. I was there for 30 days. And to this day, I mean, they were so puzzled in regards to how I succumbed to this condition. They called the CDC, physician for CDC, the control of substance, came up. The CDC is the Control of Disease.
Oh, yeah, Center for Disease Control.
That's it. Thank you.
There you go.
This is what happens when you get old. Okay, you get these blocks. Okay, which is okay. Okay, I keep telling the people I care about, especially, which happens to be the entire world. I'm going to be honest with you. Okay, I'm not only I not only am compassionate, but I feel a certain part of sympathy when somebody has to go through this world in darkness, and they're totally naive to what's actually out there, and then they fall into depression, they fall into substance abuse, they fall into other things that where their attention is drawn away from the real issues of life. You're supposed to enjoy life. God gave us this life so we could have. Even Jesus said in John 10:10, I came that they may have life and might have it more abundantly. That abundant life was promised to us, So as a result, if you're not experiencing that abundant life, then something is happening in your life. And if that be the case, I pray that you find someone or some organization or some church that will help you in whatever you're going through, because this could be very devastating. It could also be very deadly. And there's so many suicides that have gone up. I don't know if you're familiar with the statistics.
I've seen quite a bit of them. It just recently, within the last week. I even heard it on the radio today. It's like, what? It drastically has shot up, especially with the teenagers. Yeah.
For some reason, they're losing focus. They're losing focus on just life. And when you do that, they want to sedate themselves, to make life a little more easier. And when you do that, you're developing a crutch. And then once you rely on that crutch, then you're no longer on your own. Yeah. Okay, you have to rely on the elements around you to get you by, and that's really sad.
Yeah. And you said yourself too, and I definitely agree with it. Is we have so many distractions out there. Our technology and all the stuff that's around us, it's distracting. I feel we have to be careful what these distractions are doing to us. We need to move closer to the light and start walking that path of light rather than darkness, and be careful and be adamant of what these distractions are really doing.
Sometimes, you have to have a little bit of guidance in regards to keeping yourself on the right path, because as I said, this darkness can also trip you up real easy.
Oh yeah.
Basis.
Now I have an unusual question, and have you noticed anything in regards to inherited possessions that multiple family members or multiple generational?
Yeah, generational. Yeah, we've had some cases where their ancestors or direct descendants were involved in the dark arts. Okay, a lot of it is contributed to cannibalism. It's within their and it depends, on your culture and so on. It goes way back. Human sacrifices were almost a common thing, especially in third world countries, as we know it now. But cannibalism was also something that was practiced, and then sacrifices. This is another thing that very few people don't want to talk about, because this type of scenario is happening even today. And I'm not even going to go into the conspiracy theories, about all the celebrities drinking human blood. I'm not even going to go there. but I will tell you that I will tell you that there's a lot of crazy things that are happening in our world today, and a lot of us are walking with blinders that we don't have no concept, no idea, totally oblivious to what's going on. Generational spells or generational curses, that's very common, unfortunately, in certain parts of the world, especially. And of course, again, it depends on your ancestry and so on. But when that happens, we actually have a ritual for breaking curses and things of that nature. But the most effective prayer that I can recommend to anyone who has demonic issues, and if you allow me, I will tell you what the prayer is, and actually go into word for it, if you will. The prayer that we use when we do exorcisms, when we do even our ministers that do deliverance ministries, and they're involved in that, they use the prayer as well. The prayer is it's not solely for the Catholics to use. Anyone could use this prayer. This prayer is a prayer of protection, and it's called the St. Michael's Prayer. If you're not familiar with the St. Michael's Prayer, you could look it up on the internet, and they will actually, you can actually download it, wonderful technology. You might as well use it for something good. Okay.
Absolutely.
The St. Michael's Prayer is, I'm just going to recite it real quick. Okay. And listen to the words. Okay. And again, this is, it's not a magical spell or a magical, type of scenario. What it is a prayer that's dedicated and focused to God, and it addresses the Archangel Michael. And it's said like this: Saint Michael, the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our defense against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, thrust into hell Satan and all the evil spirits who prowl about the world, seeking the ruins of souls. Amen.
Amen.
That's a powerful prayer.
Yeah.
Many lives have been changed as a result of reciting that prayer. And that's powerful. If anything else, if not anything else you take away from this interview, if you just use that St. Michael's Prayer, if you only have that, then I'm blessed and I'm happy. And I'm so thankful that you've had me on and that you've invited me, because I'm not, even though some people might think I'm a ham, but but any opportunity I have to spread the word of God, and outside of an exorcism, I'm so happy to have that opportunity. So again, thank you.
Oh yeah. You're very welcome. Is there much difference between the work that you do and have done as an exorcist, much different than what's portrayed in Hollywood and the motion picture industry?
It's interesting, I've had some colleagues that have actually been associated with some of these Hollywood things. It's all shared for entertainment, of course, and trying to recreate real life, especially when it's regarding something that's paranormal, supernatural, it's very difficult to do. The writers and people telling the story will use as much of their creative, juices, if you will, in order to put a story together so they could get it across. I'm going to tell you that the most recent film, there's an old saying, no cliche, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. So I'm going to say the best Exorcist film that movie I've ever seen was The Exorcist.
Yeah.
Which is based on a true story. And but I'm going to say, my opinion only, okay? I'm going to say that probably it's probably a good 30% accurate. The other 60% you will never know. Mm-hmm. Or 70%, yeah.
Yeah.
You will never know what happens behind closed doors because, number one, your mind would not be able to wrap around the actual experience itself. Number two, you'd be in so much disbelief that it would corrupt your current perception of life. And three is the most, very important, is that the more you know about real, unbelievable, horrific things happening in your world, the more uncomfortable you'll be in regards to living in this environment. And if you could understand that, it's very horrifying. So I'm going to say 30%, again, my own opinion, okay?
Yeah.
30% is probably well documented. The other 70% is just the imagination of the creators, geared for entertainment. Let's face it, there have been people, I remember when this film first came out, there were people watching and viewing the film, and they came out, they were throwing up, some people fainted, they were having all kinds of, now just think about that. If that's based on 30% of accuracy, just think if it was 100% accuracy, or let's even say 80% accuracy. I mean, you'd have people like dying in the aisles. in the movie theater, dying in their popcorn. I mean, the whole point is that, there's just things that you have to just simply leave to your own imagination. And if you're told that these are the facts and you see the facts, now, of course, the exception are the priests, the clergy who are involved in this ministry. They see all kinds of things that they would never repeat. Reason being is so horrifying, it could corrupt the person's mind who is listening to these facts.
Yeah.
Okay, and so you'll never really know what's going on behind closed doors. I mean, they'll tell you and they'll illustrate things to you, but believe me, the magnitude of the reality of the situation is never close to the truth.
True. And all the people that I've known that have done stuff through Hollywood very, very closely to the truth. It's all for entertainment. So
sorry to say, no, I'm not going to say that either. Okay. So, when you see everything without blinders and you see everything for what it is, you become very much aware of certain things that you shouldn't talk about. So I'm not going to talk about anything negative in regards to people, because people are not perfect. In fact, to the contrary, people take in all the information that's given to them. Okay, they could feel the information going in, and it actually forms some kind of opinion within themselves. And as a result, they become very opinionated. I don't want to say anything negative. I will tell you that the world is in darkness, and the light is being shined in these dark corners by people. I hope I'm a poor representative of those people with the flashlight, but I am one of those people that you see in the movie theater, the usher with the flashlight shining it in all the dark areas. That's me. I'm one of the ushers. I'm one of the many ushers that are out there with a flashlight. And the flashlight, of course, I would say represents the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is the light and is the hope for mankind. And it's only through Christ that we're able to have these promises that God has given us. So it's extremely important that we do what we do. And hopefully there are people out there that are listening. And if not, well, we have to come to that when we come to that. As they all say, it is what it is, right?
It is what it is. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, that pretty much concludes our broadcast. But I tell you, we can go on forever and open up the doors for more topics and some more questions and comments and stuff from our viewers and listeners. And I know this is going to be when it's broadcasts that there's a lot of people out there that are curious, because I said, when we're all growing up, we're always told, there's no such thing as the monster in the closet or under the bed. I kind of don't think so. I beg to differ. So, but I appreciate your time. I'm humbled with you being on our show, and again, blessings, my friend. Blessings.
Thank you. Bless you. And again, thank you for the opportunity for allowing me to share, because the word is very important that we get that out. And thank you for being a vessel and allowing me to do that. So
you are very, very, very welcome. And if you have a moment to stick around after recording
Sure.
for a couple things, but other than that, thank you again. And for those who are listening or watching, thank you for listening to Conscious Radio Network's the Seance. It was the weekly, but everybody knows it's weekly. So now I just changed the name, make it simple. Thank you, everybody. And until next time or next week, we'll see you then.